Yes. Hello. Check 1, 2, 3. Let's turn that on. Perfect. All right. Perfect. Going live there. Yes, that microphone. Hello, everybody. Tom Caldabiano here. Everybody Loves Raymond 360 Live on a Sunday. Let's put this up. Let's see. Let's look at this, and then I have to hit this. All right, folks. There we go. Oh, painfully close. The Tomster is painfully close. There we go. Hello, everybody. Talking to you about all things Everybody Loves Raymond. Let's turn that just down a tidge, as they say. Yes. StreamYard is high. Hello, everybody. Let's, sorry. I have been sick so much. It's crazy. Wow. Holy moly, that tea is, what is that tea? We'll have to explore it. Okay, let's go. Hello, everybody. We're going to answer a lot of questions this time. So many new questions. I realize having 40,000 new people, we're now at 74,000 followers. We are growing a lot. And if you didn't notice, we are check marked, which means maybe that I am not AI and I am a real person, which would be nice. Okay, sorry. Yes, let's see. Hi, Karen. Happy Sunday. Yes, I've always wondered what the tofu actually was made of. Yes. The tofu turkey. I believe it was a soy combination. Yeah. Let me write down so I don't forget. There's a pen. I know I have 27 pads here. No, that's a pad. Yeah. See, the reason I'm looking around, here's a script, folks. Here's a script that I have in the good old tin. Let's keep that camera there. Okay. There's some paper there. Wow. Someday I will give that back behind the scenes tour of everything. This here is the tea I'm drinking. That's why I had that reaction. Has anybody seen that tea? Melina Raspberry Framboise. It is, I don't know what country it's from. This was a recent, was it a gift or an acquisition? Oh, let me write that down. Oh, I know. I have electronics. I can write it down there. Let me post my address to ship for people. Did I give it out yet? I don't think so. My shipping address, which will be very helpful for people. I so appreciate things that have been sent to me, and you don't have to send me anything. All right. Hello, everybody. Hello, Donnell. Hello, Thomas. Hello, Lorraine. With the tofu turkey question. Yes, that is a question for Rhonda from the props department. I've asked her in the past. She's going to join us again. Rhonda Robinson, who was the head of the props department from the beginning to the end, all 9 seasons. And she vaguely remembers it being made out of some type of soy, gelatin, something combination. But I will find out because she had to make it look funny. That was her order. Hello, everybody. Hello, Mona. Okay, let me catch up so I'm not too far behind. Let me go back. Hi, Trish in Central Florida. Hi from Marshfield, Massachusetts. Hi, Paula. Spill the tea about the tea. Very funny. Bob, aloha. Okay, Mona, let me bring her up. Hi, Tom, everyone. Tom, all the photos you showed this week were fantastic. Thank you for sharing them as well every week. I'll be in and out. My girl, which is your dog, your pet dog has to eat. But I have my forever question. I'd like to know about Tasteless Frank, where the storyline came from. Yeah. I don't know the answer to Tasteless Frank. That is the one where he takes pills for his foot, for Frank's foot. And I think that was a Leslie Cavaney script, so I don't know, but we will find out the answer. Yeah, as soon as I hear the answer from whoever, whatever source, I will let you know because it is intriguing to know how every story, and as we've said in the past, almost every story on Raymond is from a real life experience from Raymond, Philip, or one of the writers. Okay, let me try that Melina tea. What country is that from, folks? I don't know. So it looks like a dried fruit salad in its form. Here, let me just pull it out. Here, let's go this. You can see it a little bit. It won't fit in an infuser. This is something you have to throw in a cup and then strain it later. Okay. Delicious, super fruity, no caffeine for you caffeine freaks out there. I apologize. All right, let me look at Instagram, make sure I haven't missed any of those. And then I would like to talk about a few things, clear up some questions that people have had. Hi, Tom. Will there be a third reunion program? You know, I would like to push for that. Oh, let me move back now that I'm on Instagram. Same thing. Okay, let me move way back. There we go. There we go, folks. Sorry, it's the same camera, but it has two different what's known as aspect ratios. So I'm crazy close up on Instagram and not that close up on Facebook and YouTube, etc. So, as you guys know, there was only supposed to be a one reunion, the first reunion, the reunion. Then there was a part 2. I would like to push for a dedicated Christmas special, like at least a 30-minute Christmas special for next year. You fans, so just so you know, the first reunion was the highest rated special of the entire year on any network, as far as I know, over 6 million views. And then part 2, which was not as well advertised, and also there was some confusion because they repeated part 1 4 days later, which is almost unheard of. So then they did a part 2, and the part 2, I believe, got 2 million viewers. And I think, like I said, a lot of people, and we made that video with Phil and Ray that said, hey, it's all new material. It's not the same thing being played for the 3rd time. But that also beat out, apparently, a Christina Aguilera Christmas special and the Saturday Night Live Christmas special. So I think there's room next year for a part 3, maybe a Christmas special or holidays, all holiday episodes, etc. Let me know what you guys think, and I will send a letter. I'll march into the president of CBS. Actually, what I would do is drive near CBS because there's no way that I would be able to get an audience with the president of CBS. Although you never know. Okay, so yes, I hope there is a part 3. So, okay, let me catch up on Instagram. That's where I was. And then I do want to talk about the post that I did of Raymond on camera talking about the end of the Young Girl episode where... Right. Sorry, I'm looking to see, am I getting static on one of my mics here? Where Raymond gets gets grabbed by Deborah. So I want to talk about how that is done, etc. Okay, so let's see here. Hi, Deb. Tom, Deb here. I just wanted to ask again, and don't recall if you answered my questions from last time. The wardrobe department managed the physical comedy getting the bra onto Ray's back. Thanks, Deb. You were mentioning the new viewers are following now up to 73,000. Yes, 74,000 as of today. I'm looking at the mic signal. Do I have any noise, people? Do we have any odd noise coming out? Hopefully not. I'm looking at all these. No. So I think it's probably good. Okay, so Deb, Tuck, Frank, that is an excellent question. In the Jazz Records episode, Ray goes behind the sheets and then he comes out with a bra attached to him. And I myself, I was like, who did that? How did we do that? How did we pull that off? And I said, let me see if I was smart enough to take a bunch of pictures of the part process. And sure enough, I did. And what I found is Ashley Steuer, who was in the wardrobe department from beginning to end. And, I haven't been able to get a hold of Ashley, and she didn't come to the 30-year reunion. So I don't know if she's still in the business or if she moved away. As far as I know, she left on excellent terms with the show. So it's not like there's a personal vendetta against the show. I found pictures, and she is in full black ninja outfit behind the curtains. And when Ray goes back there and gets caught in the sheets, when Ray fights with the sheets, she hooks, I believe, pins. I don't think it's Velcro. I think it's a hook, and she put it on Raymond's back. So somewhere I have those scans of those photos, and I just have to find them on one of my many, many hard drives. And I don't know why, because I do remember doing them, and I remember posting them something like August or April or something like that. Okay. Let me scroll down just to go here. Okay, little static. So I'm just going to do something right here, folks. Yeah, that's a tight fit. Okay. How are we doing? Is that any better? Well, I don't see any static on the other side. Let me do this. Sorry, folks. This is going to make... Okay, let me check this, because I forgot to check this. Here we go. No, that is good. That is the correct thing. Okay. We will cut this out in post, as we always say in the business. Yeah. Plug that bad boy in. Now we're back in business with that one. Okay. Here we go. Let's see. Yeah, I think that cleared everything up. Fortunately, bras come with built-in hooks that can attach to almost anything. Yes, Karen, thank you. It was very good. I remember Doris, yes, on the Patricia Heaton. We did that. Okay, so the question was there a favorite Christmas outfit? I put that out to you guys. I personally like the one where she gets the chocolate on her face, because I took some pictures of her sitting there on an apple box, kind of like this, kind of a pensive look on her face, which brings me to the Raymond in behind the scenes inside of his dressing room, season 1. Raymond was sitting there getting dressed, and what Raymond was doing was giving me a look. He was giving me a look, and then he cracked up right after that for the next frame. So I noticed this when I post the Doris Roberts Christmas party. A lot of people are like, oh, they're not having fun over there. Oh, they're not. So as a person who has spoken at colleges, when I look out at a sea of students, and they all look like they are angry, bored, and upset. And maybe they are, because I'm boring and upsetting them. But for the most part, when you look at pictures, your own pictures, people, when they're listening, don't have this unnatural smile, which you do have to do when you are an announcer. So in that Santa picture, Raymond is kind of giving me a furtive stare. What is it called? Something like that. And then cracks up right after it. All right, let me adjust. I'm going to adjust my camera here. Yeah, let's just do this a little more straight. All right. There we go. That was a good one. So let's talk about that scene that I posted a picture that was from Ray and I doing a watch party, where Raymond at the end of Young Girl, we had done a bunch of takes where Ray gets pulled out by his ear. Then, as a goof, and I don't know if it was Ray or Patty who had the idea, but they put in a protective cup. A protective cup, for those who didn't play sports, you wear this very, very hard cup for goalies, or on baseball, you have to wear it to protect yourself. And so that is what he had. That take was only done for the audience. Very seldom would we do something just for the audience. Maybe 5 times in 9 years would we be like, hey, let's do something else, because time is money on the set. So you didn't have the luxury of doing that. Now, having said that, when Ray would come up with something called a second take, which is an alternate line to a joke line, that could end up in the show. All of those were really good for the most part. Sometimes Raymond went a little bit over the top. And, you know, when Brad is wearing that mustard colored suit, Robert in that Goulden's colored suit, which is now, by the way, courtesy of Phil Rosenthal. On the Long Island, in Stony Brook, Long Island, the Long Island Museum of Music and Entertainment Hall of Fame. That's where that suit is. So Ray went a little crazy on that, with that, coming up with something called second takes. Okay, so Ray had a cup. Now, somebody brought up a question about Jealous Robert. By the way, Young Girl's an episode I wrote. Jealous Robert is an episode I wrote with Raymond. In that one, Ray is about to blow the cover of Marie and Deborah's standing there talking to Robert, and Ray's kind of by the chair, and Deborah elbows him right in the groin area, right in the Garden of Good and Evil. That is also when Raymond is wearing a cup. She 100% did it as hard as she could, and I don't know if there was personal anger there that Patricia Heaton was taking out on Raymond, but you couldn't fake that. You couldn't kind of hope that she hit. So Raymond was wearing protective gear. And I think I told the story, but I'll risk boring people repeating it again. When I wrote for the Creative Arts Emmys, Tim Conway was a presenter, and I had to write a bit for him, which I did. And then afterwards, we were hanging out, and I told him I wrote on Everybody Loves Raymond. He said, "Oh, my favorite scene," and he named that scene. So Tim Conway, who was very much a master of physical comedy, named that scene as one of his favorite scenes, which is awesome to say the least. Okay. Great, awesome, super awesome. So I hope that clears that portion up. Now, let's talk about... let's go back to some questions, and then I want to talk about a table read, since we have so many new people. Did the actors ever get tired of eating the same food on the set? Well, they didn't really. They ate craft services, and when they were filming, they ate a little bit of the food that you see on the show. So it's not like they always had the same thing. Now, you'll notice if they had Peter Boyle eating grapes a lot. I think it was healthier, and he just would eat grapes a lot. So, but yes, good question. But no, and don't forget, you guys are watching 22 minutes of a 22-minute episode. That took 4 hours to film. So most of the time, you're not eating on the show. Okay. The ginger ale question. See, now I'm remembering all the questions that come up during the week. Raymond liked ginger ale. He does not drink anything with caffeine. He doesn't drink tea. He doesn't drink coffee. He never did. He doesn't drink alcohol. He never had a drinking problem. He just very much doesn't like to be out of control. And out of control to him would be a big hit of caffeine. So Raymond always drank ginger ale. And the Canada Dry Ginger Ale Company sent ginger ale to the show. There was never a sponsorship. There was never a paid thing of like, if Raymond drinks ginger ale, you get this. Now, could there have been? Is there nowadays? Yes, there's very much product placement stuff. And there was back then, too, in certain aspects. For Raymond, though, no. But that is your answer to why ginger ale. And those small bottles really lend themselves to just not wasting ginger ale, because you could put that... you could, open it and not have to drink a gallon of liquid. Was there where they drove around for a bit of the first one? Deb, was there a specific reason they chose that Santa outfit for Peter Boyle? Isn't that a standard? Good question. Isn't that a standard? That was kind of a standard Santa outfit to me. Let me see. Karen, is there any chance of having Brad on as a guest? Yes. He's been on here before, and I hope to have him again, especially when we're going out of the studio. Janet, yes. How is my backyard now? For those of you who missed, my neighbor's pipe broke, and I was sitting here at my desk looking out the window, and I heard a noise, and I thought, that's weird. I have rats in my basement. No. Oh, the trees are moving. It must be the wind. No. The entire hillside has now cut loose, and thousands and thousands of pounds of dirt and trees slid into my yard. And so we're waiting. But luckily it has dried out, and now we're waiting to see what happens. I will keep you posted on that. Thank you for asking. That was very nice of you. Hi, Anne Melanie. Have I spoken with you before? I don't know. We love the reunions. My daughter Shaylin and I absolutely love Everybody Loves Raymond. For her 18th birthday, she had an Everybody Loves Raymond cake for her birthday. Oh, please send a picture of her cake. Post a picture of her cake. That would be great. Love sharing stuff like that. Her cake had a picture of the Barones, and it said, "Happy birthday, Shaylin. Love the Barones." Laugh out loud. She is 17 now and knows, on her 8th birthday. Sorry, I read 18th birthday. And knows every line. Oh, that's a very sweet story. Yes. Send a picture. Where are you located? You don't have to answer that. But are you in America is the question. I would assume that is the case. Hi, Susan. Obviously, we're 100% behind another special. Yeah. Well, you are, but again, CBS. Oh, there's a hummingbird. I see a hummingbird. CBS was not gung-ho on the 30-year reunion until it became the highest special, and then they wanted to run it again 3 days later. So, let's hope that clears. Let's hope we can convince them to go another way. Okay. All right. I hope I'm sounding better, everybody. Now, not me as getting over my 450th illness. Okay, let's see this. Yes, Donnell, that's a very funny thing. It's how do you get it onto Raymond's shirt is the bigger thing. Bras have hooks, so maybe we are overthinking the mechanics of this. Yeah, they might have sewn a thread onto Raymond's a hook thread. Okay, here we go. I showed the tea, right? But did I drink it? Okay, there we go. A little AIS for all of us. But I express that I hate that Christmas ends. So I try and leave the lights up, and I don't want anybody to feel offended or feel like they indeed also have to keep their Christmas stuff up. That's normal people take it out everything down right after Halloween, New Year's. But as I've said, a lot of Italian restaurants, they keep their stuff up very, very late into the season, and indeed 24 all the time. And that's one thing that you find in Italian restaurants like Rao's and Nemo's. Okay, let's see. Let's see now. Hi, everybody. Let's go up to this. I want to talk about the table read. Hi, Tom and everyone. I watched the 30th anniversary reunion part 2 again today. Loved it so much. Great. Did we see, I think I'm in part 2 much more than part 1, if I remember correctly. Hi, Marie, was Robert's ex-wife Joanne based on anyone for real? Yes. Ray's brother was married to a woman named Joanne in real life. And that's what she was, that's what that character was based on. So, it's tricky because I remember reading that Kramer, the character Kramer in Seinfeld, was based on someone named Kramer. And so they tried to think of another name so they wouldn't get sued by Kramer or have to make a settlement. And so they said Kessler. Maybe Kessler would be funny. And Kessler just didn't work, so they settled back on Kramer. For Ray's real brother's ex-wife, who I have met, whose name is Joanne, that is kind of the basis of the character. Now, again, everything, I've said this before, and I will say it, continue saying it. Almost everyone's life is very normal and boring. Boring and normal. Boring and normal. Brad Pitt, boring and normal. Trust me, most of the time you're seeing people in, they're in a black tie and they're walking down the red carpet thing, and it's so exciting. Most lives are boring and normal. It's okay, though. To make it interesting, you need writers to make stuff funny. So a lot of the stuff is exaggerated. Almost everything is exaggerated because you have to make a 22-minute story out of it. So in Joanne, the character's defense, the character had to be very annoying. She was not a stripper in real life, the real Joanne, but they did, let's say, have some marital problems. Ex-wife. Okay. So let me just see. Here we go. Hi, Tom. You watched that again? Yes, that was a great question. Thank you. How lucky is Ray and everyone you know to be your friend? Is it like having a personal documentarian? Yes. Let me read that. I schmenged it, as they say on Second City. How lucky is Ray and everyone you know to be your friend? It is like having a personal documentarian. Yeah, and it's funny because I saw Raymond the other night. Did I see him the other night? Yes, and I was taking pictures, and one of the other people, I will post that picture, but the other another celebrity was there. I'm not trying to be mysterious. I will post the picture. I will hold up the picture. It was like, really, another picture? And Ray's like, I've been putting up with this for 30 years. So you do get a lot of flack. I get a lot of flack. And if I had my druthers, I would always have my camera. Okay, let's see this. Yes, spit take from Trish. That's good. I think the term you're looking for when people are listening or concentrating and looking very serious is the resting face. Yeah, or listening face. Yeah. Well, you know the phrase listening, the B word, right? I'm trying to keep it so I don't have to bleep anything ever here. Resting, the B word face. Yeah. That is such a derogatory term because in reality, we all have, you don't smile naturally in your resting face. And I learned this, I hosted the Late Late Show, and when you're doing something on camera, you have to have an artificial smile because your normal face is like, and then you have to be like that. So there you go. The ear, yes, the ear was what we always intended. There was never a point where the ear wasn't funny. We always thought we would end it with the ear, etc. Many holiday episodes center on a specific conflict, such as the Christmas photo dispute on the writing family. Yeah. So, by the way, which conflict generated the most debate in the writers' room? It's conflict. Let me think now. I got to run through the episodes. All I Want for Christmas, The Ball, The Present, The Thought That Counts, Jazz Records. I'm sure I'm missing one or two. There was never any conflict in the writer's room per se, because you work out both sides. Now, the thing I find interesting is when people say, why didn't they just take two pictures? Well, and my friend had a very good idea. Let's write a Raymond script where everyone behaves the way you hope they would. Let's write that script. Let me go through that story. For example, they back their house through the wall, come out, and Deborah says, oh my gosh, my house. And then Frank says, I'll pay for it. Don't worry. It's my fault. Do you want to see that scene? Do you want to see the scene with Marie going, Deborah, why don't we just have one picture with your parents and one picture without your parents, and then everything will go well? And Deborah goes, yeah, that would be great. Do you want to see that scene also? Do you want to see Robert go? Let me think of an example. I'm probably not going to invite that young girl out because she's much younger than me. I don't know her real age, but it probably won't. I'm going to date someone age appropriate. So now I'm going to show up at Frank's for his birthday with somebody who is 1 year older than Robert. That story. So the point I'm trying to make in a slightly obnoxious way is you need conflict. And has anybody ever had a controlling person in their life? Do you know what a controlling person is like? Do you have anybody that you have to tiptoe around? That is Marie. And so to the thought that you can just go, hey, Marie, why don't we do this? And it's like, oh, Deborah was out of line. She shouldn't have invited her parents. Well, Deborah's been putting up with this for a long time. She's like, oh, I know I'll get Marie's goat. So is she guilty? Yes. Deborah guilty, etc. So excellent question. I love those questions. Do you have good and plenty in the writer's room? It is a favorite scene. Excellent question, Bob. The good and plenties, a Robert scene, an OCD scene. I know we had good and plenty. So the writer's room used to have a ton of candy until Phil decided he was going to get healthy. And then he got rid of those candies. Yes. Okay. So let me talk a little about the table read. Let me look at this. Hi, Carol. I noticed actors on various shows just playing with the food on their plate. Big Bang Theory had more food on their episodes than any ever ELR. Somewhat less, I always thought. Lots of delicious looking food tossed in the trash at the end of filming. Yeah. Or eaten by people like me. Interesting. Playing with the food, yeah. You can only eat so much. food as the actor, and they also have to be ready to speak, which is why grapes are good because they're small. I buy high Marte Moran. Wow, is that right? Column. I buy ginger ale because of Raymond, and I don't even like it. Well, what do you do with it? That's a great sales pitch. Let me see. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm scrolling. Tom, in the episode where Frank is repairing Ray's stairs, how did they film Frank falling? Frank goes downstairs, an episode that was based on a real life thing that happened to Jennifer Crittenden, writer Jennifer Crittenden, who was having sex with her husband, I believe, and injured, well, it was her husband, and injured her wrist, I believe it was. So that sprang that. How do we do that? How do we pull that off? Underneath the steps, there was a small elevator type hydraulic device that dropped Peter Boyle really quickly. No stunt double. Peter did it in person. One of these days, I'll do a whole thing on that episode. I had Phil Rosenthal as a guest. We were in Texas, where Phil is coming soon, where Karen Jack, one of our fans, surprised us. So Phil is going to be on a tour for Somebody Feed Phil. Oh, here we go. I do have this. Take a sip of that. There's Philip. Life short, talk with your mouth full. Holy moly. It's got a little bit of a sourness, that tea, that unique tea. Okay, let's talk about, that was it, a hydraulic thing, and we were all worried about Peter, and he wanted to do his stint as a stunt man, and it went well. Hi, Denise. Can you let Ray know that my first grade class loves him reading Henry Holton's story on Story Online? Denise, I will let him know that. And also we do, if you look up Mr. Clown and Friends on YouTube, we do a lot of stuff for first graders. And I think I've visited, our character has visited a lot of live Zoom classes to other students. But I will pass that on to Raymond. That will make him happy to hear. How did the cast react to the wardrobe choice for the holiday episodes? Were there any favorites or least favorites? Yeah, Deb, that's an excellent question again. And I think I have to ask, Patty when she's on. Raymond could care less. I don't mean that in a mean way, but Ray is a straight and away dude, and so his outfits also are very common. Patty is obviously the most changing one. What's interesting in Jazz Records, she had that yellow hoodie on, which I thought was an interesting choice for Christmas time, and I remember it very clearly, and I have some behind the scenes stuff. All right, I just want to talk about a table read because there was a question, and I realized Tom Cultipiano here, writer on Everybody Loves Raymond. We've been doing this for 5 years, and a lot of people are new. A table read. A table read is you take the script. Here's the script. Here is a script. This is a wardrobe script. It's a little blown out. I can't tell what it is, but I know I looked in it, and there's a picture of me talking to Raymond, which is funny because I am next to. I'm going over some pitch for some joke with Raymond. In this episode. So there we go. All right. The table read. Here we have a approximately 40-page script that looks, it's kind of bright, right? I'm at a wide f-stop. Okay. Someone's cranky, which I think we showed before. Okay. So let's succinctly, just because someone asked, do you do the table read more than once? Do you get notes, etc.? And that's a great question. And I always come from a place of, I know it, and I try and frame it, especially when we have guests. I'm like, don't get too inside baseball because people don't know what you're saying. The table read happens at the beginning of the week. The script is handed to or put in the dressing room of all the actors after we're finished filming, let's say on... Do we film on Thursday? I can't remember when we filmed because we filmed a few different days during the 9-year run. But let's say you film on Tuesday nights. Okay, that was one night we filmed. Cut. End of filming. Tuesday night. All right, see you guys tomorrow. When the actors go back to the dressing room, there is a script in a manila envelope for them. They have to read it that night or the next morning. And they probably say it out loud. Raymond has already seen the script a lot because he always helped write every script. But they'll say it out loud, whether Brad Garrett is going, is this about me? Is he doing it in his voice or does he read it to himself? Great question for each actor. Every actor is different. But they have to learn that script, not by memory, but they want to rehearse it. Now, a lot of actors are very good and they can read it cold, as we say, seeing them for the first time. But that's a risky thing because the intonation and where it's going. So there's a production meeting on Wednesday morning at, let's say, 10 a.m., 9:30. And whoever wrote the script and all of the technical stuff happens. It's a very, very, very boring thing to watch if you're expecting comedy. And the first time you do it as a writer, you're like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. The first AD, Randy Sewer, would go through, okay, page 1, Frank and Marie are talking, Frank and Marie talking, Frank and Marie talking, it's raining, someone comes in with an umbrella, Ray comes in with an umbrella. Do we know what kind of umbrella it needs to be? Any type of umbrella. There's more talking, there's more talking, there's more talking. Marie's making a chocolate cake. Okay, Rhonda, chocolate cake there. Okay, now there's talking, and that's how you go through the entire script for production stuff that needs to be known, wardrobe, anything special. Now, cut to 10:30, the actors come into the table area, which is on the stage, and in Raymond's case, it was a U-shaped table. I posted that over the head picture. Let me see. Can I bring that up quickly? Because that's I don't know that picture exists anywhere else in any other show in the history. I mean, someone can replicate it now, but going back, okay, what am I looking for? Instagram. So it's a horseshoe-shaped table, and the cast sits there. Phil, I think it was Phil, maybe in the picture I posted, it was Tucker, Steve Scrovan and Tucker. Okay, let's see this. I don't want to hear any sound. Just trying to get to my, let me see, home. And then go to this, and then this does it. Wow. Okay, there we go. Okay, so here we go, Tom. Navigating technology, trying to keep it from going. Okay. There you go. That is the view. And on the top of the screen, I think we're right, there's Phil. It's hard to tell. I'm trying to hold it steady. But Phil, Steve Scrovan, Monica, Brad, Raymond, Patricia Heaton, Doris Roberts, and I think Peter Boyle is kind of leaning over in the lighter colored shirt. But there was one time I did take pictures from the rafters, and Peter was not there. So let's see that. So that's the table read. That's the living room set. And the actors read the script from beginning to end. The director reads the stage directions usually as quickly as possible because you want to hear that dialogue. You don't want to get bogged down in a bunch of stage directions. Stage directions are Raymond gets up from the table and crosses over to the door. So the director might say Raymond gets up and crosses. We know that shorthand. And then you're into the reading of the table read. You don't stop. You go completely. There are notes given. There's a person there, Ellen Halpern, for the most part, for most of the show, who was a dancer on the Ed Sullivan Show. I believe the night the Beatles, who made a big splash, she was there. She has a stopwatch. They read it from beginning to end, and then she stops, and then Phil goes, time. And she sits there and runs her numbers. This is the antique days. And she goes, we're 4 minutes over. Okay, 4 minutes over means Phil, you have a 26-minute show and you can only air 22 minutes. And so then Phil will go, okay, we can see some takes, cuts. Now, Phil, a bunch of people gather around Phil to give notes. Phil, while the actors are still there, might say, Georgia, in that one scene, I think you're playing it this. Okay, got it. And then just the minor notes that he's giving, and he'll say to the director, listen, I think we're going to make some trims in scene D, so don't go crazy rehearsing that. Phil gets notes, and then the writers go back to the writer's room and make any tweaks that need to be made, and the actors start rehearsing. And they rehearse all day, and then the next time we see it, it's up on its feet, meaning they're walking around with the scripts in their hand. They're not expected to know the dialogue. So that is a table read. That kicks off the day. Real time, 22 minutes. It's my favorite time because it's the only time you see the show from beginning to end without interruptions until it airs. So a really, really good time, the table read. Okay. Talk amongst yourselves, folks. I'm going to have another sip of tea. I hate it when my voice is affected. Yeah, I have been sick on and off, and I thought I beat it, but today, not so much. Okay, Deb. How much input, if any, did Doris Robertson have in choosing Christmas outfits? You know, that's a great question also. They would, we'll have to have Marianne Boucher, who was, she worked on Raymond for a few seasons, and also Seinfeld, which I heard is a pretty good show. If I can't get a hold of Ashley or Sonia Uten, unfortunately, the head of the wardrobe department from beginning to end, Simon Took, who's British, he is no longer with us, sadly. So, and I did want to talk to him. So yeah, the women I think really had an opinion about their clothes, and the men not so much at all. Okay, I had a neighbor that kept the nativity scene up from the end of October till Valentine's Day. Interesting, yeah. I mean, I have Christmas lights in my house that never come down. But they're on a lighting grid that I can turn on and off depending what I want. That'd be interesting. Maybe you guys can send me pictures of Italian restaurants that have, in your neighborhood, that have Christmas lights up all year round. That would be very, very interesting to see. Let me see. Hi, Denise. Hi, Tom. I just watched you playing basketball for Nemo's. You had a line. Yes, that was what happened was, Captain Nemo season 1, when I first started on the show, Ray brought me as a writer, but he couldn't get me in as a writer, so I was kind of this nondescript title, and I was earning, you ready for this, drum roll, $400 a week, 3 weeks out of 4, $400. So I was making $1,200 a month to start. And Phil eventually, when I was in the writer's room, and then to get me more money, he's like, I'll give you a line in this show so you can make more money and be pulled out of poverty. So, yeah, that was fun. Paul Lyons was in it. Paul Lyons is a comedian who, when I moved to LA, he picked me up at the airport and gave me a ride, which I was eternally thankful for. A very kind gesture when you're in a different place. But Kevin James, Dave Attell, and Ann Lee Kindler, all of that. Okay, let's see here. My birthday is November 24th. I didn't want anything except to watch Everybody Loves Raymond reunion for my birthday. Oh, yeah, it was that night, right? I told everyone I wasn't doing anything, but I picked up ingredients to bracciole, and shaylin. And I sat on the couch eating braccioli and cannolis while watching. It's honestly our happy show. That is such a nice message, Anne. And that, by the way, you should be able to spend your birthday doing whatever you want, right? Don't let people on the outside tell you what you should be doing. Okay. Love how Marie went to attack Joanne. Yes, that was a bit. Were there any ad-libs or unscripted moments in the Christmas episodes that made it to the final cut? I would have to watch them all. I don't remember. Generally, if there's stuff in the bloopers reel, which are often the second takes reel, then there's a possibility of that. You know, Robert's fall in Jazz Records is pretty monumentally funny, and I just found footage of that, behind the scenes footage of that, which I will have to post. Yes, the whites are plenty. I hated when Marie dumped food if she was mad. Yes, Denise, it's an ultimate, it hurts your heart, right? But that's comedy, takes no prisoners. You had to do it. Hi, Tom and everyone. Let me see. Have you yet talked about your Dom DeLuise and Ray's bra stories? Hi, Tom and everyone. I just tagged, have you talked about your Dom DeLuise and Ray's bra stories? So are those two separate stories? We talked about the bra. I did not talk about Dom DeLuise. Did I leave? Am I not remembering that I promised a story that I don't remember? Let me know. Let me know. I will scroll down. So when Phil wanted to eat healthy food, is that how the tofu episode was thought of? No, I believe the tofu, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys can look it up. I believe the tofu turkey was a Steve Scrovan script, but I could be wrong. You guys can look it up. Steve Scrovan is a vegan, as is his wife. Yes, ice cream can be ice cream mashed potatoes. Yes, terrible, right? The thought of that, terrible. Yes, the the Good and Plenty run. Thank you, Karen Jack. Yes, the Good and Plenty run. Sorry, I have to repeat this for people who aren't reading anything. There's a subset of irregulars, and they're called cuties. Yes. Let me see. Yes, that question, Deb. Have any of our writers wanted to write for Hallmark? I can't speak for any of the writers. It's never presented itself. I think Hallmark might. I don't know is the answer. I have not. It's not been presented to me in any way. But I know Hallmark is a beloved channel and people love their specials, etc. Yes, Ellen, I will send a link. I will post a link to our kids' channel. We love having kids. Kindergarten, first grade. That is our wheelhouse. Tom, please let us know what inspired the PMS Bad Moon Rising. Sure. Monica Horan, Phil Rosenthal's wife, inspired the PMS episode. And when he came into the writer's room to talk about it, we thought, oh, it's a very, in the comedy world, we call it a hack premise. It's kind of a old, women get moody at that time of the month. It's like such a cliche, bad thing. But I believe Phil and Ray wrote it, right? And I believe it was nominated for an Emmy. So much like anybody else, when someone great is doing an interpretation of it, it can be great, even though it might be an old subject matter. So when in the hands of masters, it does turn out well. Let's see. So Karen Jack, did the cast you laugh during the table read? Yes, Karen, that is an excellent question. It's one of the few times when you would see the cast laughing, and it was pure joy because they haven't heard it performed before. So every once in a while, they would just laugh and look over at the writers who are gathered around going, what joke worked? What joke didn't work? What joke worked? And they're not generally sitting around going, yes, we are very funny. They're generally like, okay, is this going to bomb or whatever? We, at this point, have lived with that script for a very long time. So when I just found a picture of Doris Roberts laughing at a table read, which I'll post, because Doris did not laugh a lot. Doris did not, she was not an easy laugher. So that was always very, very, very rewarding. I watched some ELR reels on Facebook that our excellent Phil and Ray interviewed after the show stopped. They explained how they met and ELR started. Their wives were also on. Ray's wife said how strange it was whenever he had to kiss Deborah. Yeah, at the beginning, Lynn, excellent question. Yeah, I've answered this. I've asked this before. People have asked it because if you're a normal person in a normal relationship, watching your spouse kiss somebody else is not normal. It's really not normal. But once you get into the acting field, it's normal. Like you have to kiss during a scene. And, they're also not 18-year-old kids. You're talking about 40-year-old people who are professionals, especially Patricia Heaton. So it loses its, from the outside, I know a lot of women especially have been like, if my husband had to kiss another woman, I would kill her. I'm exaggerating. But it would not go well. It did not sit well. But when Anna said that was, at first it was kind of weird, but I think that kind of wore off. Excellent. Let me see. Yes. Hi, Deb. All the actors were great at the table read. They really were. They were phenomenal. Did the kids join the table reads when they had lines? Yes, absolutely. The children read. 99% of the time, the children read for that. Was there a go-to person for breaking tension or making everyone laugh during a long read? There was no such thing as great question, but you were just reading a script going on, so there was no tension. There was laughs throughout. There was never once in the history of Raymond a table read where there weren't big laughs. So, you just as you guys know, watching the show, everybody on the show could get giant laughs. Let's see this. Hi, Karen. Yes, the 22 minutes included everything. The teaser, the tag, which is the fancy word for the beginning and the end. So that's, yes, thank you. I'll bring that up. Thank you, David. Yes, to follow our show on the PBS network. You can watch it anywhere in the world. Hello, hi, how are you? Hello, hi, how are you? On PBS. If you just search that at pbs.org, you can watch it anywhere in the world. And if you just go to Mr. Clown TV on YouTube, you can see all of our learning videos and songs, etc. Thank you, David, for that. Let me see. Hi, Bob. Yes. The skill of actors to memorize long monologues is amazing. Excellent point, Bob. Yeah, for those of you that haven't have had to remember a speech, Patricia Heaton, they all were fun. They all blew you away. And I think, I am a big fan of Seinfeld. I know a lot of you guys haven't really watched it, but Jerry Seinfeld tells a story about a big monologue that he has to give to Jason Alexander, and Jason Alexander does it. It's about, the sea was angry that day about them finding a golf ball in the blowhole of a whale. And they wrote it and they gave it to Jason Alexander, and he barely had any time. And Seinfeld said, if you watch the take, his face, Jerry Seinfeld's face, is in awe because he can't believe that Jason Alexander with zero time is remembering this monologue. So Patricia Heaton, I did a gag reel once where I gave her the script and she looked at it and I go, you can just study it. And she goes, no, I got it. And I'm like, I don't think she has it. And she had it. I was shocked how, I don't know if it's a photographic memory, but it's astounding. Excellent point. Where did the Christmas letter episode? Christmas letter episode was season 2. It started out initially, we had a Tupperware party, and it was going to be about a Tupperware party. And then in the writer's room, I want to say that was a Kathy Stump script, and then it morphed, and it became Deborah writing this letter. And Phil said, this episode is now called The Letter. And that was one of the best reactions we got from the audience up to that point. That was season 2. And I remember tearing up, because that scene in the kitchen when Frank is reading a letter was just comedy gold. And I think, that's a good example of early on, Deborah's like, I'll write a letter. I'll straighten this situation out with your mother. And Ray is just like, are you going to oh, please no. I think Ray goes out. I remember he leaves and he comes back and he's like, oh, this back scrubbing brush is great. And Deborah's like, that's for fruit, Raymond. Oh, you might want to rinse it. So that is an example of when you talk about the Christmas picture and why didn't they just take 2 Christmas pictures? Deborah would probably not have had so much anger way back when to have her parents come and stick it to Marie. But at that point in the series, season 2, Deborah was still optimistic. Like, let me just straighten your mother out. Let me just tell her how she's problematic and we'll just get past this. And Ray is just like, oh my God, like, you have to be kidding me. So that's the origin. I'm trying to think if somebody wrote an angry letter. I'll have to ask Phil to see if he remembers that. Hi, Mona. Every time I see your name in the credits, it makes me smile. That's very nice to hear. Thank you, Mona. From anywhere on the Facebook, just sweep the screen from right to left. The reels come up on the right. Oh, thank you for helping people. Yeah, I got to put, it's weird because when I post certain things, they'll get 10,000 views, 2,000 views. And that clip with Raymond watching him getting grabbed by Deborah in the end of the young girl episode, that has, I think, almost 250,000 views. So it really depends when I post it. And a lot of people, it applies to me too. I'll be like, wow, I've never seen this clip. And then I realized it's from, 3 years ago, but you just never know. Last week's podcast, two separate items. Tabitha, are we talking about Dom DeLuise and the bra? Dom DeLuise, yes. Okay, I will tell the Dom DeLuise how I got to know Dom DeLuise. Last week, you had a Dom DeLuise story about meeting him and the story about how Ray got bra into his clothes. Great. Thank you. I just knew because my first image was Dom DeLuise in a bra talking to Raymond. And that is not a pleasant thought at all by any means. Okay. And look at the time also. The Dom DeLuise story. Yeah, we ran time. Look at this. I was sent this by Kim Brazier, our friend Kim Brazier. So I will be trying this. I don't think my canister stuffer could get it in there. So we will try those in a few. Let me. Okay, so Dom DeLuise. For those who, and a lot of younger people have no clue who Dom DeLuise is. Fine. What are you going to do? I was driving some friends who were visiting, and they were not. Their kids were younger, but probably in his late 50s. And I said, "Oh, do you want to see where Amelia Earhart lived?" And they all said, "Who's that?" And I said, okay. Do you want to see where they filmed Mom? Never heard of it. Okay. Do you want to... And then I said, do you guys know who Pink Floyd is? And I'm like, please tell me you know who Pink Floyd is. You may not listen to them, but you know them. And they said, oh yeah, we know Pink Floyd. The cover of Wish You Were Here, Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here album cover was photographed on the Warner Brothers lot in front of stage 16, which is the lot, the stage, the tallest and I think deepest. It has a water tank. So The Perfect Storm, Dunkirk, a lot of things filmed on that stage. So if you look that up and you see two guys shaking hands and they're on fire, that was shot at Warner Brothers. Okay, Dom DeLuise. So my friend Bobby, who you have, I had him as a guest here. He owns an Italian pastry shop in upstate New York near Albany, Schenectady. I'm looking for my phone and I'll pull up a picture of Bobby Malozzi. He is an incredible baker, young guy, and Dom DeLuise had a house in Vermont and he was going to do a PBS series about cooking. So they say, hey, are there any pastry chefs around here? They call up my friend Bobby. He goes, he's on air with Dom DeLuise, and then he's visiting me and he goes, hey, I'm going to Dom DeLuise's house. And I said, why are you going to Dom DeLuise's house? And he told me the story. So then we started going to Dom DeLuise's house, and it's right when I started baking bread. So this is over 20 years ago. And I would bring bread, and Bobby and I would cook a Sunday meal at Dom's house. Dom had an old school, Sunday. For those who are not growing up in the Italian community, you would have this Sunday meal that started like noon, and it would be a giant, you would make your Sunday gravy, etc. That's what Dom still did, and he had tons and tons of friends over, and we started getting invited to that. And Dom DeLuise was one of the funniest people I've ever met, without exception. And I remember, I go, Ray, we have to go to Dom DeLuise's house. So Ray and John Manfrolotti, we went there, and then I brought my friend Tony DeSena there, and I would hang out with Dom a lot. And then his health was starting to go down, so he would sit in a chair, and he would go, Tom, he'd order you around from a chair in the kitchen. Go to the cabinet on the left. Reach up your hand 4 inches. Now reach to the left and go. Now grab that. Put that in here. And it was great because he would give you these exact directions as opposed to go get the tarragon. Get the tarragon. Just find it. He would be exquisite. And sometimes go to his house and he'd have gnocchi rolled out on his counter, etc. On his countertop, just hundreds of them. When we would visit all the time, and then Bobby, my friend Bobby, came out here and he goes, hey, let's go to Dom's. He's not doing great. So we went to his house. We cooked basically a meal on Sunday. My friend Bobby went back to New York, and then I believe on Wednesday, Dom might have gone into the hospital, and I think he died like 2 days later. Whatever day the week was. And so Bobby came back for the funeral, which was in a big theater. And I mentioned it to Phil Rosenthal, who came with us to this funeral service. And everybody there was, show business royalty. I think Charles Durning was there, but Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner, so many celebrities going up and speaking, and just a heartfelt laughs and tears, etc. And then Dom's wife said, come back to the house afterwards. And I was with my friend Tony DeSena and Bobby, and we went back to Dom's house, and we were the only outsiders at his house after the funeral. And so and it was interesting because I knew his son. His son, bizarrely, his son was on, help me out here. It's a children's show. David DeLuise. Just look up David DeLuise. Wizards of Waverly Place. He was on there, and I was working on the Emmys, and I saw him there, and I go, oh, I'll take pictures of him. And he comes running down to the stage, and he does a forward somersault, and he goes up, and then I'm waiting for him on the other side to where you take pictures with your Emmy. And no David. And I walk around, I go, where did he go? Because you have to exit and you go around and then you stand where they take pictures of you. So I walk around and there's David, like covered in sweat, and an ambulance comes in and they're talking to him, and he hurt his shoulder. So I'm talking to him, and there's a showrunner there, and he's like, oh, who's this guy, Tom? And he goes, oh, Tom is a friend of my father's. So then he said, I think I have to go to the hospital. And the ambulance said, we cannot leave here. Either you leave here under your own power, or you leave with us in the ambulance, whatever the rule was. So I said, David, do you want me to give you a ride to the hospital? Sure. So he gets in my car, and we drive to the hospital. And as a joke, I said, should we talk about gas money? Because it is not cheap nowadays. And so I knew David. So now cut to end of the funeral, back at his house. His other brother I'd never met, Peter DeLuise. So he's like, who's this strange guy after, my father's funeral, sitting in the house? Anyway, that is my kind of Dom DeLuise story. I have more, but he was just a unbelievably funny and sweet guy. And I will tell you this is a weird thing. At the funeral, Mel Brooks said, life is going to stink without Dom DeLuise. And I remember such outpouring from giant celebrities. And I remember when I first met Dom, he was so nice to me. And it's weird that in this day and age, when somebody's nice to you, your first instinct is usually suspicion. It's like, why is this person being nice? It's a very sad statement. For me, too, I was like, wow, I feel bad that I even, felt that way. And then when I'm seeing all these giant celebrities just raving about him, I mean, eventually I came around. Not that you just look. When someone says, oh, they're very nice there, very nice, it's like the exception more than the rule. Okay, wow, that was a long Dom DeLuise. I have to try that candy. Hi, Ellen. Yeah, wow. So let me go back up, because I missed a lot. Here we go. I love how we heard how Patricia Heaton and Sherry Shepherd got chosen for their roles. Yeah, so many Ray's rebuttal commentaries are unexpectedly hilarious. Kudos to Ray and the writers. Yes. Have you acted in other TV shows? Every once in a while. Let me see. Tom, this is very off topic, but what was your very first job as a teenager? My first job as a teenager was cutting an older woman's lawn around the corner from where I lived. Let me see. Lives to come. Yes. Dom DeLuise. By the way, Dom DeLuise in Fatso was a really great movie. I see that the still picture didn't make it to be posted. Okay, which still picture? Let's see this. This is from the Long Island This Weekend. I couldn't figure out how to send you the video of the Lynbrook announced train station. Oh, that's very nice. Last week you had a dump. Yes. Okay, good. I'm caught up, everybody. For those of you just listening to what I'm doing is scrolling back through all of the comments. Let's go to Instagram, which I have completely neglected today. Let's go back. Hello, everybody. Tom Caltabiano here, writer on Everybody Loves Raymond. Can we make a reboot? I would love to make a reboot. Let's see this. Tom, any superstar that was asked to guest star in season 1 said no, who was famous? Oh, great question, Leo from Toronto. Odd Man Out is a well-written episode, yes. Did any famous people turn down Raymond? I don't think so, because as far as I remember, we only had sports stars at the beginning in something called stunt casting. And then I think we didn't really go for famous people at all in the show. Good question for Lisa Miller-Katz, who would be... Lisa Miller-Katz would be good to ask that. But as far as I know, no. Great question. I mean, Jean Stapleton did season 1, which was great, and she was as big a sitcom star as there was, or there ever had been. Yes, I will post pictures of Dom DeLuise. Our family, grown daughters, grandma, watch all the episodes over and over. I enjoy hysterical laughter, even though we all know the episodes to begin. Tofu, completely. High melody, that's great to hear. Yes, scrolling back, catching up. This is awesome. Folks, let me taste. I got to taste this before. Tom, what and who determines how many episodes each season has? The network determines the order. Back then, a normal order was about 22 episodes. We did 26 at one point because when you're a hit show, they want you to just crank it out. So the 100% the network. And, you know, a lot of shows now do 12, 16 episodes, something like that. Okay, I'm going to have this courtesy of Kim Brazier. I have to open it, which is not exciting unless you're into the... Here. Opening of a package next to a microphone. So, you got... Wow, this is a... See, I could have opened it and taken it out, but then you don't get the true... I could also switch it. Okay, there we go. Reflection is our enemy here in front of big light sources. Okay, I think they when you're feeling down, this is what they recommend. Okay, are these all the same? Sorry, folks, you're learning. And how did I miss these? I've seen them. Okay. Okay. All right. So here we go, folks. It's a tray of pleasure, right? Okay, let me see. By the way, for those of you not in the United States or not football fans, it is playoff season for football. So it's called the wild card weekend. So a lot of teams get eliminated and their hopes dashed. That just happened to Jacksonville, Florida, which is unfortunate because you want to see them succeed, but a lot of Buffalo Bill fans also, which is an underdog company. Okay, so it looks like a Hershey Kiss so far. That's a naive, Okay, do I pop it all into my mouth? Ooh, it's warm. Okay, here we go, folks. So, not a lot to see. Okay, here I'm gonna. Oh. So it's. Do I have a napkin here? All right. I have to have another. I'm not being... Here's a napkin. Awesome. I'm not being a slob. I have to taste it. It went... So it tastes like, I think it's dark chocolate and slight nuts in it. It's not as sweet, which is good, as I would have expected. Wow, I'm just getting... It's like a chocolate water sprinkler coming from these candies. Okay, opening another one. I feel like my opening technique is barbaric. Okay, let me put a little wrapper on there. All right, here we go, folks. The Bachi, is that how you say it? I would assume. Dark chocolate. What did I do with the lid already? Okay, here we go. I'm going to eat it again. So I'd have to cut it. Hold on. Okay. Success. So melty. That's what the innards look like. So it's dark chocolate with, I think it's dark chocolate with nuts. Here's why I love it. It's so not too sweet. It's really good. I'm going to give this an 8.9. 8.9. That's pretty high. That's very high for me. Wow. But let's see what it says. Can we see this? Is that it's backwards in my screen, so I can't even read it. It's too small. Oh, Perugina. Okay, classic original dark Perugina. Okay, I'm going to need an unprecedented third one. So I think Perugina is owned by Nestle. Is it owned by Nestle? Because I always like theirs. Okay, maybe I won't eat another one right now. Okay, let's scroll back before we say goodbye. Is there anything that I haven't? Okay, let's scroll back. Tom Caltabano here. Everybody Loves Raymond. Talking to you every week, posting what I've posted them pictures, and there were some questions about them. Santa Claus, we talked about that. Hollywood Center Studios, Raymond having a grouchy face, and he's smiling big time. Same with, okay, let's clear this up also. Doris Roberts' Christmas party. What I'm going to do is post all of the photos from her parties at once to clear up. Yes, Brad Garrett did attend. He had young children at the time for some of the shows, so it was hard to get away. He did go to a couple. If you don't see him, that's just because he's not in the shot. I think David Hunt, Patty's husband, the dreaded Parker, he sometimes went, sometimes didn't go. Patty was there most of the time. Doris was there because she lived there. Peter was in town still, so he went there, etc. All the writers, some producers, Ken Ornstein, Ellen Halpern, who I would love to have on here. A lot of people, and it was, Doris opening her house. It was the White Elephant Yankee Swap, Greed Party, Rob Your Neighbor. I forget what the other names are. It was that. So you had to bring a brand new gift. It wasn't a reject gift. It was bring a brand new gift, but it can't be worth more than $40. And every once in a while, someone would bring a good bottle of scotch or something, and people would fight over it. But you were sitting with a bunch of comedy writers who are used to sitting in a room, and their whole job is to be as funny as possible. So all of those laughs were courtesy of the comedy writers and, Brad Garrett, Peter Boyle, etc. So it was a fun time. I'm going to say it might have been my most fun memory of any extracurricular activity we did on the show. So I will post all those, etc. And again, for people, I'm defending people here. The pictures, when people don't know they're getting their picture taken, it's normal not to have the most smiley, friendly, happy face. And also I posted just before we came live the picture of me waving to Raymond. He introduced me for writing the jazz records we were filming. But around me was Ray's wife, Phil's father, Tucker Cawley, writer, Mike Royce, writer, Lou Schneider, who played Snaps there, Phil Rosenthal, Aaron Shore is in that photo, a few people who you would not know. There's no way you would know, etc. So, okay, let's catch up. Yes, Habanada. Yes, I hope I will feel better next week. I'm very annoying, and I apologize I hope none of you catch whatever I have over the airways, which I understand is very hard to do. Hi, Lynn Van Orden. You mentioned last Sunday 60 degrees in L.A. How funny is that? I laugh. Being from New Jersey, 60 would be a heat wave this time of year. I loved how Peter Boyle dressed up Halloween as a nod to Young Frankenstein character in another episode, his lovely singing in karaoke bar. Do you have stories how these two things came about? Let's Tabitha. Excellent. Can you remind me next week? Because we are over the 1 hour mark. Which we try and keep it to about an hour. But excellent, Tabitha. I appreciate you, the Dame DeLuise. And I have to post those pictures of Ashley Steuer putting the bra on Raymond in the basement set. All right. I think that's it, folks. Oh, and the tea. Someone asked about the tea again. I'll post a picture. Oh, here we go. Here's the tea. I don't know where it's from. It's super fruity. Some foreign country. I'll post a picture of it. It's like drinking a fruit salad. Does it say here a product of? That's funny. I don't see it. some of you might see it. But it's a very fruity, tasty tea. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. I really appreciate all of your questions. I try and answer them all at the time. And if not, I answer them with explanation here as if it was a court case and we're trying to get to the bottom of how comedy works. All right. Have a good week, everybody.